So adjustments for children and teens is something that I'm always asked about on my teacher trainings and on my Q&A sessions. And before we start thinking about what is the best adjustment for this pose or that pose, or what's the best adjustment for younger children or for teenagers, there are three more important things that I think we need to consider when we're thinking about adjustments for children and young people. So the first thing is that we need to ask permission. Just like we should with adults, and most of us do, and especially since the beginning of the pandemic, and we weren't allowed to adjust physically, but asking permission. It is equally, if not more important, to be asking children and young people for their permission to do physical adjustments. And we don't need to ask them to put their hand up if they don't want the adjustment, or to make a kind of scene, or to really pinpoint those children that don't want adjustments, but really making it easy for them to opt out of adjustments. And before you even ask this question, getting them, familiar with what an adjustment actually is. So if you're saying right before Shavasana, is everybody okay if I adjust you? You need to let them know what that means. Are you going to give them a little hand massage? Are you going to give them a bit of a head massage? Are you going to help their shoulders relax? Are you going to be touching their feet or their ankles? So you have to let them know what it means for you to adjust them as the teacher, and then ask them for permission. So giving them the opportunity to opt in or opt out of adjustments, just like we do for adults. And then secondly, when you are adjusting children and young people, you need to think about what body parts you are actually touching. So again, it is different to when you're adjusting adults, especially if you're familiar with the adults that you're working with. When we are adjusting children and teenagers, we need to be very, very mindful about the body parts that we're touching. We're trying to teach the children body boundaries, respect of their own bodies. And so it's essential that we, as the yoga teacher, are also fully respecting their boundaries, and making sure that they have their own healthy boundaries. So when you are physically adjusting children and young people, really just staying to the outer limbs. So I would suggest definitely below the knees. So I tend to just adjust with the feet or ankles. You might adjust the tops of the shoulders, hands, arms, and pretty much that is it. Very rarely will I be placing my hands on a child's, lower back, definitely never the chest area or the belly area, and nothing above the knee. You can use verbal adjustments for that, so verbal cues rather than using physical adjustments. Whether you're adjusting them in Shavasana to help them go into a deeper relaxation, or whether you're adjusting them in a handstand or Warrior Two, being fully aware of where you place your hands on that child or teenager's body is absolutely essential. You should be putting this into your planning. So if you're teaching young people handstands, thinking about before you go into the class, how am I going to adjust them? How can I help them, by just touching their feet and their ankles? How can I help them going into a strong handstand just by helping them with physical adjustments on the hands or the tops or the back of the shoulders? So weaving this into your planning, because this is an essential part of your teaching. Effective alignment cues, but also safe adjustments. And this is not just keeping them physically safe, but this is making sure that they feel safe with you. So feeling physically safe, but mentally and emotionally safe as well. And that's where, if we are placing our hands on children and teens, body parts as part of physical adjustment, we need to make sure that they really feel mentally and emotionally safe with us doing that. So permission, being very mindful about which body parts we are placing our hands on our children and teenagers when we are adjusting, And then thirdly, I think this is possibly the most important one, is where is your physical body in relation to the child's body? So if you are doing an adjustment to a child or a teenager who's in a relaxation pose, let's say Shavasana, and you want to help them to relax their shoulders and their arms a little bit more, if you are standing over the child, if you're standing, over their head, and their bodies are a lot smaller, and that can be really, really intimidating for them. So as with everything, we really want to try and get down to the child's level. When we're speaking to children, we should be at eye level with them so they can see our facial expressions. We're showing that sense of connection and respect for them by making that eye contact. We're not standing over children. It's definitely the same when we're adjusting, and especially if they're in a relaxation posture. So we're coming down to the ground, maybe we were kind of kneeling next to them to do those gentle adjustments of maybe like with their hands or just helping to relax the tops of the shoulders. And we're not standing over the children, which can be very intimidating when they're in this vulnerable position of lying down with their eyes closed. Equally, if we are adjusting teenagers in a more dynamic pose, let's say they're in a half moon balancing pose, where is your body in relation to that young person's body? So we need to be aware of, if we're standing behind them, not just where are our hands, where are we placing our hands, but where are we placing the rest of our bodies, being aware of the space around us, having that spatial boundary, and making sure we're not in a place that can feel intimidating. Yoga are in lots of vulnerable shapes and positions with our bodies. And so we need to make sure that the children really feel very safe with us, and that we're definitely not making them feel any more vulnerable, that we're making them feel, very strong and in control and in their own power. And so where we place our physical body in relation to the children's and teenagers is really important. So I would suggest, being in a place where they can see you, where they feel comfortable, and always telling them, of course, before, or asking them, I should say, is it okay if I just place my hand on the top of your shoulder to help you open up? Is it okay if I place my hand on your heel to help you to engage your leg a little bit more? So asking permission, being very aware of where you place your hands, but very importantly, where are you placing your physical body in relation to the children's physical body? And, this is coming from many, many years of experience, not only of teaching children and teenagers, but also from being a yoga practitioner. I have been in, multiple classes where I've had some adjustments where I thought, that doesn't feel very comfortable for me physically or mentally and emotionally, or I just felt very vulnerable in the position, or I just didn't feel like it was an appropriate adjustment. And sometimes that's not the teacher doing something that's inappropriate, but it's just that they haven't really had the thought of it beforehand. And that's why I think it is essential to equip yourself with the knowledge and the teaching skills to be able to give very safe adjustments, perfect alignment cues that are going to work, and to know how to keep your children and teenagers safe, not just physically, but psychologically safe in your children's yoga classes. It's something I talk about a lot on my teacher trainings. I think it's so fundamental, but it's often overlooked. And it's the reason that I led my free workshop last weekend. If you didn't see it, definitely go and check it out. It's available now. You can get instant access to it. And that is focused on keeping children and young people safe in our yoga classes. And I talk about how to keep them not only physically safe, but mentally, emotionally, and socially safe. So if you are a mindful, responsible children's yoga teacher or teen yoga teacher, or you're working with families and you would like to develop your teaching skills, your experience and confidence in adjustment, alignment cues, how to teach teenagers to go into more advanced yoga practices and poses in a safe way for their physical body, how to create a safe, nurturing space, poses to avoid, poses that work great for development, coordination, balance. If this is all of interest to you and you do consider yourself to be a responsible, mindful children's yoga teacher, then I would encourage you to join my half-day training, which is happening this Saturday. And it's 50% discount at the moment. So if you sign up before Saturday, you get that 50% off. You get access to the live workshop with me, which is 4 hours, 4-hour teacher training. It's going to be very interactive, very fun as always. We're going to do some group work, some partner work, and I'll be sharing lots of experience, knowledge, and practical skills so that you can go out and start incorporating all of that right away to make sure that all of your classes for children and young people are safe, but more importantly, that the children actually feel safe. So not just about the physical, but about the mental and emotional safety as well. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you and you want to grab that 50% discount, then you can check out the link in my bio, or you can DM me with any questions at all. And if you haven't watched the free workshop yet, then please head over to my bio and check out the free workshop right now so that you can start implementing those safe practices into your classes right away. All right, if you've got any more questions about how to keep your kids safe in your classes, then please DM me because I'm always happy to answer your questions. All right, hopefully see you on Saturday.